I don't see my own personal self. I don't find purpose and meaning in anything we do, because we're just going to all die and we'll never know anything about it, and we'll never remember it, and we'll just won't be, and we won't ever remember anything we did. And that would be true of everybody, but I just don't think that that's the way people act, because people act, they behave like what they do matters. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother getting up in the morning and doing anything, but they do, and they believe what they do matters. And I believe that there is right and wrong. And to me, God and God's will is every good thing. It's every act of kindness, every act of tolerance, every act of, putting your arm around somebody's shoulder who's grieving, all of those. And it's taking care of the environment and taking care of ourselves. That all matters, because I think that there is a bigger picture. One of the things too that kind of validates my opinion is that there's a lot of evidence that there is more than the dimensions we perceive with our five senses.
Exactly.
And if that's true, that means that maybe when we die, we just go into we're not encumbered by our bodies anymore, so we can go into we can perceive the different dimensions that we couldn't perceive when we were restricted to our five biological senses. So that's a lot of rambling, and probably means nothing to anybody.
No, that's
it.
That was good. I liked it.
I like that.
That's pretty much how I think too, actually.
I don't mind if there's a God. I just don't think that God is a physical presence as much as God is a way of being, an attraction.
Correct.
So it is a verb, not a noun. God is
correct,
or attraction, and planets attract moons, and the sun attracts planets, and we are attracted to a mate, and life goes on. And if there's any God at all, it's the fact that atoms will share an electron with each other and become a molecule.
Mm-hmm.
That's attraction. And so anyway, I boil it all down to Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates, and sometimes you step on a dog turd. That basically describes my
That's a good one.
That's poetry, Mike. That is.
I really just think we're another animal like any other animal on the planet, or plant for that matter. And what we do is to survive and multiply and keep the species alive, and go forth and multiply was in the Bible, right? And I think that's what we do, and we've been pretty good at it.
Yeah. We multiplied ourselves.
Let me come in then with this. Yeah, we're too good at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
not as good as the bacteria and microbes and viruses, though.
No, but they're not destroying the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is a limiting.
They did destroy the atmosphere. They created oxygen, and they destroyed a whole group of animals, so to speak, that oxygen was poison to. But then they created us. Oxygen created us. They like oxygen, so I mean.
So we have this 6-mile width of atmosphere that we, because of our overpopulation, we are totally contaminating that atmosphere with fossil fuel gases that are going to cook us. But
That's right.
But in my thinking, this is part of the scheme. I mean, why isn't the atmosphere bigger? Why can we reproduce so well? Why hasn't our reproduction shut down to?
It is. We're becoming less fertile.
Well, tell the world population that. We're still, at a huge, we're still increasing exponentially. And so I just think we weren't meant to last forever. It's just not biological.
Probably not, no.
In our design, there's this intersection.
No other species has lasted forever, so.
Nope.
No, so, and who knows what will replace us when the environment gets so that it won't support us, but likely there'll be some life that it will support.
Bugs.
Termites.
Something.
Yeah.
So
Termites
it's
will
just
even
like
survive a
fearless.
nuclear war.
I call it an expiration date. We were created with an expiration date.
Does it say 2020 on it?
What do you want to say, Bill?
Yeah, right.
Go ahead and speak, Bill. Bill?
Bill, are you there?
Mike, you don't have his speaker turned on, Mike.
Yeah, it is turned on,
I don't hear him.
but I don't hear him. It's showing that it's turned. The computer
Mike,
is.
don't turn his speaker on.
I hear something coming out of there.
Yeah.
Now
I could not
He's
mouth
talking.
hear him.
Yeah, but we can't hear him.
we can't hear him at all.
I'll go
Can't
check.
hear it.
He needs
Brenda will get
to.
it.
The computer microphone is not
He'll
on.
fix him up.
He's talking to somebody.
Having a good time.
He needs to test it. I can't do that.
He's talking and nobody hears him.
But let me just finish up here. I'm right there with Sherry. I'm only talking about the physical world as far as the atmosphere and our reproduction and our, survival instinct. So we keep expanding our population. This is just the physical sphere. I'm not saying we don't have a spirit that dwells elsewhere beyond our five senses.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's the next.
You didn't know to click unmute when you muted all of us for the song.
Well, I'm showing that he's on.
Can
Bill,
you,
go ahead and talk.
Bill talks. Everybody should.
Well, he's not on the phone though. It's hard
Bill,
to say he's
talk.
South or
speak, Bill? Can you hear us, Bill?
I'm hearing.
Oh, there. Speak
Oh,
up. Bill.
Oh, there we go. Okay, good.
Now we finally hear you.
I read a book this week when they took the age of our Earth at approximately 4.5 billion years and reduced it down to 1 week, and then talked through the stages. My point being that we humans, as far as being civilized humans with ideas and et cetera thing, come in the last half of the last second.
Yep.
Okay, now comparing this for a minute with, it's easy to think there must be a God, or else why did we conceive of such an idea? But for 99.9% of the history of this world, there was no belief in a God. What was God doing? Do you think the dinosaurs could communicate with the deity, or this deity we talk about, we assume it to be more or less a human or something that we can deal with. I'm of sort of the opinion that these are some ideas we might take. It's almost like having a beautiful statue that represents the deity to you. And after all, a word and an idol are pretty similar. Words work for the literate and idols work for the illiterate. But if we took that idol and just put it on the shelf for a while and sort of like pretending that we're just Johnny come latelys on this planet and we're in the process of wiping ourselves out. The planet will go on. There's been 5 major extinctions before us. We're producing the 6th one, and we may be a party to that.
Yeah.
If
That's the scary part, that we might be a part of it, rather
Yeah.
than it being just a meteor coming from the sky.
we are moving into an age of science. You all, what do you think? Aren't we? Don't you think that? Or do you feel that? Well, my next door neighbor is a literate man. We had a discussion about this, and I talked about global warming, the crisis in the world, and he said he did not worry about it because God would not allow that to happen to us. So that he feels better when he goes to sleep at night and so forth. But
Well, that's how he makes sense of the world.
yes, it is, and I would respect his right to that belief. However, I refer back to my second career as a flight instructor. That ain't no way to fly an airplane. I'm listening. You guys go ahead. I don't want to be a party spoiler here, but
Mara, do you want to chime in? You have some good thoughts.
Oh, I wouldn't know where to start. The first thing that comes to mind is a Jamaican priest who said, for all we know, we're just a speck on some giant cosmic eyeball. And he also said that ticks and vermin and things that irritate us so, plagues and all that, this may be the Earth's way of trying to cleanse itself of us. And I thought...
There's something I'm thinking of that just ties right into that, and it's a story I have heard, and I don't know the validity of this, but what I heard is that the Hopi Indians the elders have said that one of these days the earth is going to shake off the humans like a dog shakes off fleas.
There you go.
And when it gets rid of us, it'll sing the Hallelujah chorus. It'll got rid of those things, tear up everything.
Well, I mean, this virus is a good example. I mean, it only has a 1% mortality rate, but there's something that can go on with a lot higher than that. And so it you know, or like you say, a meteor can hit.
Well, the thing is, Linda, that's historically with viruses, but as our environment collapses around us, I think viruses are going to be more successful.
Probably.
In killing us off.
Well, they were talking about one of the reasons that these viruses are escaping or coming into our environment is because we're destroying the environment in which they live and where those animals live, so that those animals that are carrying these things are encroaching where we live, but actually we're encroaching where they live.
Right.
And so we're exposing ourselves to more of this by taking over more and more of the territory that animals live in.
And the reason that China is the epicenter is they magnify that thought by putting an ocelot on top of a chicken, on top of a duck, on top of a pig, all lined up in cages to sell to their live market, meat market. And so you're passing a live virus from one species to the backs of another species, which licks it off, and it's probably very virulent being that fresh. And so it learns how to
Jump
live
speed.
in a pig, which may learn to live in a duck. So a lot of the epicenter for these viruses comes out of China, and it doesn't have to be a big conspiracy of the viral lab. It can simply be that they've got really bad techniques in their meat markets where they have all these animals together all the time.
Right. Well, now
Not
that's
good.
probably because of the poverty and the
Yeah.
lack of refrigeration and the crowded conditions.
The crowded conditions is one of the reasons that they are
So,
stacked up.
and it's only getting worse. The population of the world is not projected to decline anytime soon, is it?
Yes,
It's
Well,
7
Yeah.
billion. What is it? It's 7 billion, and they're
I think it's gonna go to 9 or something, and then it's gonna level off or come down.
yeah.
Wasn't,
somehow.
sorry.
Well, a good pandemic requires people living close together, which is why you have some of the more congested cities having the highest rates. And if you think about it, if you're living in a condominium or in condos or in an apartment building that has a railing and you're taking the steps down, 20 people have handed that railing throughout the morning. So you can imagine how much transmission you could have if one of those 20 people going down the stairs coughed in his hand and also had to use the handrail to get down the stairs. Suddenly you got the next 20 people behind him, all with whatever pandemic it is.
Or the buttons on the elevator or the door.
Or the buttons on the elevator.
The doors in and out of places.
Or the debit card machine,
Yep.
credit card machine.
Yep.
I wear gloves. Just to open the door to go in stores nowadays.
Well, does Fritz or Jane, do you want to share your philosophy?
Well, I think in my case, do you want to talk to me? I pretty much told you that I was very attracted to Tolle, Eckhart Tolle. And I've pretty much adopted his speech, hook, line, and sinker. We're in a universe that we can explain the internal rules of. We have no idea and we have no capability of how to go beyond the beginning of the creation of it. And to make up a mythology about that is fine. If it makes you feel good, you can do that. But what most religious, or at least religious teachers, the real philosophers talk about, and what the great historian Bertrand Russell said was common in all of those religions, is an attempt to reduce the suffering while you are in this life. You're in this life for whatever reason. And there isn't a one of us that hasn't had some considerable suffering in our lives already. And here's flash news, you're going to have more. So the trick is to find the magic in the joy of being, in the joy of living, in the joy of, and you can do that by controlling how you think. Some of you have talked about dysfunctional behavior, what Tolle calls the dysfunctional ego. Dwayne Dyer also talks about the same thing, and many others.
And that the trick is, trick number one, certainly in the Buddhist line of thinking, is to awaken to the fact that you don't have to spend your energy defending yourself and arguing with somebody who believes differently. If you want to reach an inner peace, you need to tend to yourself. You need to know that when your ego, your self-concept is being challenged by somebody else who says something flagrant or hurtful or whatever, you need to recognize, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to cry, or I don't have to get angry and hit somebody. I don't have to dominate them and force them to think like I think. All I have to do is drop that line of thought, recognize it, and drop that line of thought, and go back to the things that I have already, through internal meditations or other reflections, decided are the gems of living. And it turns out that if everybody does that, well, it turns out first, if you do it, you find that your greatest rewards are in coming in touch with all the commonality that we have as a species. And you can call that spiritual connection enlightenment. You can call it God. You can call it what you want. And there are lots of different variations, even just in our small group. I tend toward the enlightenment. But once you recognize that the things that really charge you positively, whatever they are, in my case, it's the warmth I feel when I'm with somebody that wants to be connected to me. It doesn't get any better than that. And it doesn't get any more painful than to not be able to have that. So Tolle would tell you, Eckhart Tolle would tell you, if you want to find your purpose in life, if you want to find something that really gives you satisfaction and reduces your suffering, find those inner feelings. Usually they circle around love, somehow around love, loving. And usually in our species, it circles around socializing with others that we love. Then let yourself be taken by the great who, the force, God, whatever, through life, and recognize what kinds of pursuits in life really give you that sense of satisfaction. Priscilla just hits it off on music and facilitating groups like this. She obviously loves it. And if she recognizes that and dominates her life with that, then she'll end up being a positive person. A positive person can become a magnet and make other people positive just by being around that positive person.
Thank you.
Next thing you know, you might have a really vibrant community of you people. And maybe you find somebody else who really gets excited about thinking about how do we need to modify the political system so that the poor people don't get left out. Not the Black people, the poor people don't get left out.
Yeah, wow.
And if you get positive feelings and people who are interested in pursuing those things, then maybe instead of fretting and worrying about which statues should stay up and which statues should come down. We can get Black Lives Matter to concentrate on, if we can get everybody to the voting booth, and if we can get enough power now that instead of the plutocracy running the rules, we can change the rules, we might have a list, substantive things that could happen that would allow everybody to have an equal voice and an equal chance. Whatever it is that spurs you, that makes you reflect back on the positive feelings you have internally. Be aware of them. And when you run across that opportunity that life brings you, all of a sudden to participate in something that really pumps in those good feelings, grab it. That's what I'm learning from my studies of spirituality.
Great.
And it's basically what Eckhart Tolle is very actively preaching now. And I don't think it differs from a lot of other things, but it's a little more pragmatic than choosing one of the dogmatic religions. And Lord, how does somebody else get the right to be telling you what you can and can't do? You can't dance, or you can't swim in, or all the silly things that people think up to tell you that you must do or you must not do.
Can I add
just mind yourself for what makes you really feel good and maximize it in your life.
Good, good. Okay, Mara, comment?
I've got a whole collection since I was 20 years old, or dog-eared. I borrow words and poems from other people, and when it speaks to me, I save it. And it seems like this one paragraph sort of sums up what he was just saying. Everybody probably knows what the desiderata is.
Oh, yeah.
If not, you can Google it, I'm sure. But it appears to have been written by some spiritual leader, because it was found in, I think, a cornerstone of the old St. Paul's Church in Baltimore, and dated in 1692. And it's very much like what he was just saying. Go placidly among the noise and haste, and be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. It was really given a lot of latitude to people, but they buried it. And, you know, I guess it wasn't published until probably about the time I captured it here. But I wish all young people who are struggling with some kind of spiritual identity could see it and read it, because it gives you permission to be yourself. I think it's wonderful. That's just one of my many. I've got them all together here to be read at my memorial service if anybody wants to have one.
Well, send us a save a date card.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about silver linings to the COVID. This opportunity, I mean, my music gigs at the senior retirement places dried up. Here I am doing UU music. I got to do music.
Yeah, it's your.
And if you need somebody to tell you what's next on the agenda, I can do that. That's not too hard for me, because I'm opinionated, you know, I already mentioned that. So, but let me ask, are we done for the day? Does anyone else want to speak, or should we close?
Well, I can say something. I tried to get my hands around this. I'm a real slow thinker. So what I have to do is I can't think on my feet or talk on my feet very well. So I have to write things down. When I do write things down, it helps me understand what I am thinking. So I wrote this down. So I will read it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay.
For me, my theories about life are it's about 1.5 pages, I guess. We are here on Earth because something we don't understand and call the Big Bang occurred 16 billion years ago and sent lots of energy into some abyss we call space. Some of this energy transformed into matter. And after about 12 billion years, our sun and the planets in our solar system began to form, including Earth, along with the same for all the other stars in our galaxy we named the Milky Way. And billions of additional galaxies also formed and are probably continuing to form. The only facts here are the timelines and the matter of energy we can observe today. Although we can see back in time and know a little bit about it, what was in the past. Over the next 4 billion years, the Earth's matter and energy evolved, and some of it formed into plant life and then animal life, including one animal we call human. The evolution continues with each generation changing almost imperceptibly. Generations can be days long or hours long, or 500 years in length, and all that time in between. All are only specks in time, of course. All matter changes, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Pure energy, which I would say is pure white light, is all that is constant. These for me, seem to be facts. All of the above happen and continues randomly, with no design other than possibly the initial Big Bang. All matter has what we call free will, except to the extent that other matter or energy impacts it. And I think for me, these are still facts. Everything is something. There is no nothing. There is no vacuum anywhere. It's either energy, matter, or a combination of both. The smallest indivisible bits of matter we can either sense or know mathematically are named quarks and leptons, but there surely are far more. And these are all still, for me, these are all scientific facts. And since there is nothing, to me, this means that we are all connected and all a part of something larger, ultimately the universe. When I touch the air, there is a path from my fingertip to everything else, to all energy and all matter in the universe. Just like when I touch the water in a lake, there's a connection to all the remaining water in the lake and everything in it. I believe, for me, these are still facts. And I define all of this as God. For me, this is God. All of what I just talked about. What I can do with these facts gets into the area of philosophy, belief, theory, and spirituality, and is beyond science, in fact. This God, for me, holds all knowledge and power. I can know a tiny speck of any of the knowledge and use a tiny speck of any of the power by plugging into it with my feeble senses. I can plug into it by communicating with any of you right now, through the matter and energy between us and connecting us. I can do the same with anything, anywhere, through prayer or meditation. Everything is available to me. The more focused I am, the better this works. I can know what to do with my free will in my current form through this process, and thereby can lessen the randomness of my personal matter and energy. I use this knowledge and power in the ways which benefit my feeble senses. Feeling is the most powerful of my senses, and I will do whatever I can to make it feel the best it can feel. Everyone else acts in the same ways, which benefit their feeble senses. When life is difficult for me, I can communicate with some others, or ultimately all others, to find the joy they may feel. I may have to connect beyond the earth to find that joy. When I am able to do this, I get out of bed and try to get more of it. When I am not able to do this, I may not get out of bed.
That's very good.
Yeah, very good.
I especially liked sticking your finger in the water and connecting with the entire ocean.
Mhm.
I can expand on that.
Mm.
Want to do a program?
Oh, who's that? The facilitator talking? Who said that?
By the way, Rich is going to do a program for us this coming up Sunday about the creation story and about the Jesus story.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Correct, Rich?
That is correct. And I just want to mention that I have this big poster here that Bill Nichols put together. And what I've done with it is I put it on PowerPoint. So I'm going to use PowerPoint to show you a typed up version of the same information. And it is, presently, it is the comparing of the creation accounts in Genesis. I stumbled across this about 3 years ago. I used to read Genesis and go, I'm confused. Until about 3 years ago, when I discovered out of a little booklet that explained it. Here's the booklet. It's 36 pages long. It's called Pagan Origins of the Christ Myth. And in it, it did a little comparison between the Genesis stories. I did not know there were two versions of the creation. So that's what you're going to get first, is the comparison of those and what we might make of it.
Okay. Well, I'll be
Wow,
there with all
great.
ears or headphones.
Can I just comment on something I watched just before we started this? I was watching YouTube, and there was a Jesuit priest on talking about the differences between Islam and Christianity and the likes and the differences. And I found it very interesting. Some things I hadn't thought of, a lot of things I didn't know about Islam, and also some of the fears of Islam. So it's on YouTube. You can do a search,
Can you
type in
send out a link?
Islam or something like that, and you'll probably find it.
Mike?
Pardon me?
Is that something that you would like to talk about at one point?
If I go back and listen to it again, maybe I would. I'd have to take notes.
You need to check some other sources, though. I don't
Think
think.
about it. Think about it, Mike. We're
Yeah,
all, you know.
I'd like to hear that too. You
That
bet.
would be very interesting.
This is great. You know, I was remembering what Fritz said, and he was talking about religions in the world and their common bond, and that they are all there to make people have a better life, to minimize the pain, and to maybe maximize the joys. And I think, you know, for me, again, if I think people are motivated by their feelings, then everything that people do is to make themselves feel better. And you may not like Donald Trump, for instance, but what he does makes him feel better. And that's why he does it. He doesn't do it because it hurts him. And it's just, that's how we, as humans at least, I think almost all animals, that's how we deal with things. When food
But
makes
there
us
must
feel
be a-
better, that's why we go eat it.
There's a name for that illness, though, if making you feel better destroys people and programs and countries and relationships. What is that? Masochist?
That's morality. Now you're talking.
It's
Now you're making a
malignant
judgment about what are
Malignant
good
narcissism.
actions. Well, yeah, that's narcissism, sure.
Malignant
But
narcissism.
narcissism works for him,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and not anti-narcissism works for me. So we have a problem. Now we can sit back and just let things be, and I can do the best non-narcissist I can, and he'll do the best narcissist he can, and hopefully, my example. I think somebody was talking about just being the best example that you can. That it will infect others with your example.
Absolutely.
I can do that, or not, or that might be expedient enough. And the people that are in Black Lives Matter, or the people who do demonstrations throughout history, certainly in America, they're doing it because being passive has not been working for them for 400 years.
Right.
So
And
they are forced to do something else.
Listen, Jim, we gotta tone this down, pull this in. Think about doing a presentation on that. Obviously, a subject you care a lot about, and we all do.
Well,
But-
you know,
But it might be.
I think that the people in this room are here because they care about stuff.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I like that. I'd like that. There's a lot of people that don't care. They just
No, we do
they just
care.
don't.
So,
They're able to not care.
so here's an invitation to you to consider a program on that. But I think it's time we pull this together and close. Thank you all for coming and caring. What a good group. What a good group. What a great platform for us to communicate.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's join hands and say our closing prayer. And a 1, 2, 3.
As we
go
go
out
out
upon
on
our
our
separate
separate
ways,
ways,
may we
May we
find
find
that happiness
happiness
which
that
comes
unsought
unsought as a
is a
great
great
benediction
benediction
To
to
those
those
all
who
those
strive
strive
to live their
their
lives
Mhm.
in
in
unselfish
unselfish
devotion
to that
that
which is
noble
noble
and true.
and
and true.
True.
Okay, we'll see
Okay.
you on Wednesday and the rest on Sunday.
okay.
Have a good week.
Okay, good to
Y'all have
see
a good
y'all.
week.
Later.
Stay
Week.
safe.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.